Hey guys, I've got Hootie here, and I don't know, I actually don't really know how he is around the chickens. I don't think he's seen them as much. You'll see that they're right next to that can you see that? The sign right there in the corner that says 237. The chickens are right in that corner, and I'm gonna work Hootie off the chickens. I don't have my speaker box on me today, or for this video, because one of the dogs in the yard is scared of it. So I'm just gonna, unfortunately, you're not gonna hear my e-collar work. I always use my e-collar whenever I say anything that's command oriented to the dog. So anytime you hear me say, Hootie, come, sit, that kind of stuff, that you can just go ahead and guarantee. Lift this up a little bit. There we go. That should help see the chickens a little bit better. You can just go ahead and guarantee that I'm using my e-collar. Let's go, Hootie. Like right there, I used it. I'm on a 3 to start. And right now, at this, Hootie's got a few more days of training, and right now I'm trying to really work on talking to him and working him through situations without the leash. So the leash is on and it's attached to me, but I'm not going to add any leash pressure to see how effective the e-collar is right now. Let's go. So that was a really great example of, he went into prey drive, he fixated on the birds, on the chickens. He didn't eat, he's so in tune with me that I actually allowed him to stay on the chickens a little bit longer so that I could practice a recall, because typically he just turns right when I turn, regardless of what stimulus is around. But I really want to keep practicing recall with him. So I'll let him get into that prey drive state. You can see that he didn't see me walk away because he stayed out there. I backed up behind him so that I was out of his peripheral vision. When I do that, like right now, my employee Hillary is going to her car and it's hard to see him, but he's fixated on her, right? Just like he would the chickens. He's air scenting. Now, if I back up and he doesn't actually come with me like that, then his level of fixation has gotten to the point where his prey drive is overriding his pack drive, and now he's loading onto the stimulus, and it's only a matter of time before they lunge at that point. So, good job. So by getting out of his peripheral vision, I get to see whether or not the dog is paying attention to me. If they turn with me, they have chosen me over the stimulus. If they stay out there and stay fixated, their prey drive has overridden the pack drive. So I want to back up as far as I can, recall the dog to me. What that does is switches the drive. So that takes the dog out of that state of mind and redirects it into pack drive. That allows me to pretty much relay the information to the dog. I don't disagree with you being in prey drive, Hootie. That is your nature, but I don't need you in that drive. I need you in pack drive. So come back here with me and let's see if we can walk by those chickens again. So it's really cool because, and I know you guys can't see, I can only get the video so close, but the chickens are just like docile. So, you know, when Clooney first took out after the chickens, they kind of got up and started to run off. And so you can kind of tell the intention behind the dog based off of the prey animal's response. So if the prey animal doesn't really move and kind of just stands their ground, it's kind of an indication that the predator is not very threatening. So you know, he's definitely coming from a more curious state of mind and not so much I'm hunting, or not so much, I'm sorry, he is hunting, not so much I want to kill you. And I don't think Clooney was either, but I also don't want to necessarily run at you either. And that's where Hootie's coming from. So this example that I'm giving you of working him off the chickens, this is the same thing whenever you work him off of anything that he's stimulated by to fixate on or to go into prey drive over. So even though I'm focusing on the chickens, this is a great video for preparing yourselves to work him off a dog or a cat or something else in the neighborhood that might pop up that kind of gets him to move forward towards the prey animal or towards the thing that puts him in prey drive. So that time, I didn't have to actually recall him off of it when he started to get into that level of fixation and I started to move backwards. He says, all right, I choose you over the chickens. All right, and so that's him choosing to be in a pack drive state of mind over his predatory state of mind. Now, this is how you desensitize dogs to stimulus, right? So eventually, as we continue to do follow-ups, I'm going to teach you how to do more fluid walk-bys, where the dog has kind of learned the position and has learned, you know, what drive they're supposed to be in so that they are more apt to stay in that position as you walk by dogs and rabbits and stuff versus lunging, right? Because we don't want to keep, remember I told you at the midweek, you never want to move forward and keep walking with a dog that's lunging. So once we do, this is why we do this first phase of training where we're desensitizing the dog from stimulus through long line work. We're getting the dog to choose us over the stimulus so that we can guarantee that we've got that pack drive overriding the prey drive. Now, when we practice walk-bys, it'll be more in the follow-ups. I'm going to want you guys to do this desensitization process too in your own neighborhood, so that Hootie can make better choices on his own and choose the handler over the stimulus. So what I'm going to do now is practice walking by these chickens though, because with me, he's doing so well, I know I can pull this off. And when I start to see the dog choose me over the stimulus, I know that their pack drive is overriding their prey drive, so I'm going to start to be able to move forward at greater distances without them fixating and loading onto the stimulus. Great job, Hootie. I'm gonna go get my place board so he can hang out on place while I explain a few things that just happened. It's so funny, the more I make these videos, the more neurotic I get. Like throughout the day.
You're like thinking you need to be talking and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't stop. It's
Yeah.
like one of the dogs that comes here, you know? Overstimulated.
Literally.
Please. Oh, let's get a little closer. Come here. Let's get a little closer to the camera so your mom and dad can see you better. There you go. Here you go. Face. Good. Probably smells Clooney on this. Okay, sit. Okay, so there's a couple things that just happened when I was walking by, and I apologize. This is probably not the best time of day to be making a video in that direction. It's probably hard to see us, but luckily Hootie's white, so hopefully you could see most of what was going on. But at first, the first thing is I stopped because the mailman was driving by and I didn't want to keep moving, so I stopped. And then actually he started to load onto the chickens again. So that's a great example of why we don't stop. We keep moving. Because when you stop and you sit them, and I am referring to when something, in this particular situation, I am referring to when stimulus pops up that gets them heightened, right? To sit them in it and ask them to stay will only make them load on the stimulus and escalate. Because what they're doing is they're fixating, so the prey drive is heightening, and as that continues to heighten, it's going to push them forward and make them lunge. So when the mailman came by the first time, we were stagnant, and so he actually started to load onto the chickens and heighten. And so when you're in situations where you're working them off chickens, dogs, you know, in that example I gave you of Clooney where we can work them off toys and treats and stuff like that, you want to keep the brain moving when stimulus is around so that we keep them in pack drive and we keep them focused on you, versus doing an obedience sit or down where they're in a position, but it's a physical position and the mind is actually escalating. So the other thing that happened is, so say Hootie was right here and the chickens were where the camera is right now, and he's fixating on the chickens, and I was standing right over here at this angle, and I was actually tapping my e-collar and I said come, and he wasn't about to listen to me. So then I started to fade back behind him, and when I did that, he actually chose me over the chickens. The reasoning behind that is because when I am in their peripheral vision, there's not as much incentive to commit to me. In their mind, their pack is with them. They can see us. So they're like, yeah, you see the chicken too? Let's go get the chickens together. But when I backed up out of his peripheral vision, all of a sudden, where'd you go? Don't leave me here. I don't want to face the chickens alone. I need my pack. So this is why we get out of their peripheral vision a lot. Whenever they're stuck on something, fixated on something, my first inclination is typically to actually move behind them where they can't see me, so that I get this kind of mentality. Where'd you go? You know, if they're like this, they know where you're at. So that's the other thing that happened in that quick brief period where I walked up the hill past the chickens. First he loaded and fixated. Then he wasn't going to commit to me because I was in his peripheral vision, but when I moved back, he automatically committed to me. Now, after that, he was more interested in the chickens than I had seen him. So when you allow a dog to stay in that state of mind for too long and load and fixate, they actually get more excited and curious about it to the point where they want more. The first couple times he was wanting less. That time he was wanting more, and it had a lot to do with the fact that he had an opportunity to fixate longer and escalate a little bit more. So that's another reason why it's important that we move the brain a lot. We really move that brain around, and it's really about keeping the brain with you. lots left turn, right turn, back up, recall, you know, and just repeating these commands over and over and over again so that the dog starts to go, okay, I know the chicken's there, I know the dog is there, I know the rabbit's there, but I don't know where you're going, I can't predict it, so I need to pay attention to you instead. And then eventually what that's going to translate into over time is I can walk in a straight line with my handler past these things because I know what I'm supposed to be paying attention to when they present themselves. So let's see if I can avoid another car coming up and down this hill and see if I can accomplish a walk by back and forth without interruption. Let's go, Hootie. You're amazing, you know that, buddy? Use the e-collar very much. I think this is just, you know, both Hootie and Cootie do this sometimes where they're just like, this tool is obnoxious, I'd like to scratch it off. Let's go. What time is it? Good. So I was really hoping on sticking with this chicken example in this nice little quiet neighborhood. I would have thought I could have got away with it, but we've got another distraction coming that I might need to change course over. So we got a person walking down the hill. Sit. Let's go. And I still want him to stay focused on me. So I'm just going to keep turning him and giving him lots of different forms of direction so he can stay in pack drive. Good. Hello.
Hi.
Sorry I'm going in and out of camera view, but I just, I need to keep the movement going. Let's go. Hootie, come. Please. So this is what I love about my long line, because it tells me what I need to work on. Let's go. So you can see that even though he walks real well, when you start to add triggers like people and chickens, all of a sudden he'll perk up and get kind of worked up about it. So I actually had to go up to a 9 there in order to get him off that man. Let's go. So that was a 9 as well. So now he's heightened because there's a lot of stimulus going on for him. So between the chickens and the man, now his adrenaline levels have increased a bit. He's a bit more heightened. Play. Sit. Good. So you can see how I handled that. Lots of turns, lots of movement. Now, there's a couple indicators that are really obvious for me that the dog is no longer choosing me. And it's not as obvious for the average person because, for one, they're used to their dog behaving that way. But two, I'm usually a bit quicker at catching the dog's behavior than the average dog owner. So a really clear indication that the dog isn't with you is if they move forward and they pass your leg. So it's going to be, you know, we're going to really work on teaching you how to keep them in a heel so that when they start to move forward, it's very obvious that they're moving towards that stimulus and you need to stop and either move backwards and recall them or turn them and say, let's go. And we went over that at the midweek. Let's go. Good. head pops up. So it's hard. I can tell his ears from behind because they raise up off of his neck. That's how I can tell. Super hard with doodle ears. Doodle ears and foreheads are hard to read because they just flop there. Let's go. But he's air scenting right now. I know that's prey drive. And now you're upset. Place. This is what I mean by drama. When we're getting worked up enough to where his self-interest overrides the e-collar. Get a little drama. Let's go. I'm gonna keep moving him because he just keeps wanting to lock onto things now. That's what happens when stimulus starts to accumulate with low defense dogs. They start to get real suspect of everything in the environment, and then their adrenaline levels increase. So I really want to keep this brain moving so that it doesn't keep locking on to the things that are going around in the neighborhood. And I want to get these numbers down. Let's go. So when he's in pack drive, his ears kind of sit soft on the back of his neck. When he's in prey drive, you'll actually see them kind of pop out and raise off of his neck. The other thing you'll notice is he pops his head up. So he'll be like, that's another indication that he's locking onto something. So whenever I see him breeze outward, he's doing it right now, and the moment he went that way, his head perked up and now his ears are off of his neck. He's staring at my pack and my employees in the yard. So I'm gonna back up, come. Here. Go. So we got a few different indicators. A lot of people go, well, I don't know when to back up and recall. When they shoot forward, there's one reason why. Sometimes I'll do it if they are air scenting. You know, are you with me or are you over there? Where's your nose at? The head perking up, and then, you know, from behind you'll see that the ears raise up off of the neck, which is an indicator of prey drive too. So you've got all these indicators to tell you, these are your cues that are going to tell you when you need to change direction. These are all of your cues. Let's go. If you can learn to read your dog and be swift about this, you will prevent unwanted leash reactivity, and you'll get a dog that learns how to walk and heel eventually past all of these things. So you have your cue, boom, someone barked, prey drive. You back up automatically. Woohoo! Good job. That's almost a test. Are you with me? Can you choose me? If you can't, you recall him, and then you start over again. Good. The more repetitions you do of this until he quits shooting out and fixating, the more likely you are to get a dog that's going to be able to walk by all these forms of stimulus without shooting out. Good. Here. So I'm going to do a walk by with the chickens one more time. Let's go. Perfect. Come. Here. Good job, Hootie. So all of this type of repetition is to desensitize him from prey states of mind and to teach him where his position is when those types of things present themselves. This is what you guys are going to be doing for a bit with both of your dogs. And the more you do it, the faster they're going to come around. But it's not just about the frequency of which you do it, it's your timing, and you know, you got to start getting good at reading your dog, and you got to start getting good at your line work. That's really hard. So you guys have a lot of things to conquer, and I do think that you guys can do it. So I don't want you to feel discouraged, but one of the things that I try to prevent the most I can with clients is, all right, they're trained. Let's put them on a super short leash and force them to walk by things with a lot of leash pressure and leash pops. It's not how I train. I really want the dog to do it because they've chosen to. And so that's what this process is about. It's about, you know, phase 1 of training. Can I get that booger out? Just let me get the boogie out. Phase 1 of training is desensitization. Building up the pack drive around these exciting things. So hopefully this was helpful. This ties into what I did with Clooney in the Choose Me Over video. I'm just using Hootie with chickens instead. So you can see how a lot of this type of repetition translates into real life situations.